Bonsai, everybody, bonsai. This is Mike Overson with Luminate Home Loans. You are watching U.S. Home Talk here live from just south of Minneapolis. We're here every Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time with our live podcasts, talking about mortgages, talking about real estate, talking about anything and everything dealing with those two items plus more. We do like to answer your questions during the show, so definitely feel free to interact with us during the show. Our energy feeds off of you, so we love when people submit a question over to us via text or on the live Facebook feed. You can find us at ushometalk.com, and that is the best way to connect with us at any time during the week as well. You can submit your questions to us through the website. You can find all of our previous podcasts on there. And then you can also find tons of reports on buying, selling, investing in real estate, all the fun stuff there. With me today is no stranger, obviously, to the show here, Mr. Jason Walgrave Real Estate Group at RE/MAX Advantage Plus, and the Minnesota Real Estate Team. And then we also have Marcus Walgrave, Hegg Realtor. He is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, representing the great state there of South Dakota. Probably the best governor, I would say, in the country.
Definitely one of the best.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Kristi Noem is amazing. She's awesome. All right. So to interact with our show. So if you're watching us live on Facebook, you can submit a question right there through the live feed. Otherwise, you can call or text our real estate hotline number. That number is 612-234-7585. Again, 612-234-7585. I do have that memorized. See that? Good before job. It even showed up down there.
Good job.
So that's our 24-hour hotline, so you can reach us during the show on that number as well. All right. I'm wearing my coat right now, and I'm in the office because when I woke up this morning, it was 29 degrees this morning when I got up at 5:45. And by 4 o'clock today, we're going to have wind chills that are going to be about 10 below zero.
Oh.
And I think, Marcus, you guys have the same thing going on out there too, don't you? Plummet
We're
drop,
a little
high
south.
Winds.
Yeah, so this morning, that was beautiful. Kind of felt warm, a little humid. We were like mid to high 30s.
Oh, okay.
But you're right. I mean, that whatever it is, Alberta blaster, something's coming down from Canada.
It's coming down. Yeah.
It's gonna get wind. It's windy now here. I mean, it's whipping. I think we got gusts over 50 and I'm sure it's getting cold. The sky got clear, and that usually means cold in winter. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. All right. So we're talking about today. So we are talking winter market or spring market, which is better for you. So if you're a buyer out there and you're like, okay, we got the winter market here, we got the spring market coming up. Which one is going to be the best for me? We're going to talk about that. There's different situations that come up for buyers, different needs, right? Different strategies, if you will. And so we're going to talk about some of the more common scenarios out there and what we believe would be the best, for you in your particular situation. So let's talk about today's buyer that does not have a house to sell. Okay, might be a first-time home buyer. Maybe you're a move-up buyer where you sold your house, within the last 12 months, and you're just renting now until you find the next one that you want to buy. So you're an open buyer with no house to sell. What's your guys' thoughts? What's going to be better for that particular buyer, buying now in the winter or waiting for the spring?
I think generally speaking, buying now is going to have more opportunities for you. And we've talked about in the past that spring market is kind of that first week in February. Right after the Super Bowl is over, that's when the unofficial spring market begins. Last year, I mean, we saw it like middle of January, first or second week in January, that spring market started, and people were they were ready to go, and I have a feeling we might see that again this winter. But if you wait until, more of the spring, if you're talking about, March, April timeframe, historically more people are buying during those months. A lot of it's weather driven. But if you've got more buyers in the market, that means you've got more competition. You've got a higher likelihood of multiple offers. And so if you're in multiple offers, you can bet you're going to pay more than list price. How much more? Maybe it's 5% more. Maybe it's 10% more. More competition means a higher sale price, generally speaking. If you're in multiple offers, almost all the time, the price is more than what it's listed at. So I think that there's more financial opportunity for buyers if they make a move between now and end of January, just to avoid, getting into a multiple offer situation and have more competition in the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with that. When we kind of talk about that, Jason, when we talk about the spring market starting super early last year, right? I mean, it's always interesting living up here in the north. These winters can be tough or they can be really easy, like they were last winter. I think when you see some days in like the mid 50s, right, and it looks like the grass is growing in January. I mean, sellers are like, well, hey, let's get it on the market. I'm not really having to deal with any snow, and buyers are excited too after the holidays. But yeah, I mean, I think we've always talked about this as a group, and that's really, if you're a buyer and you're able and willing to purchase a home today, and that's what you're wanting to do, if the right home comes up, you make a move on it. You don't say, well, I'm going to just hold off and wait till spring for more inventory. To your point exactly, Jason, I mean, there's a good chance you're going to get caught in some bidding wars on some really hot properties. And even if it isn't something that you have to go over asking price, you might have to sacrifice things like a property inspection or bringing additional terms to the offer that are more favorable to the seller. So this can be a great time to make a move and to get a house under contract.
I think too that Marcus and Mike, you as well, we meet with new customers and new clients all the time that they say, yeah, I'm thinking about buying something in 2025, maybe spring of 25 or maybe summer of 25 or whatever. And so we always recommend, look, let's get the process going right now. Let's get your pre-approval done. Let's find out exactly what you qualify for, how much those payments are going to be every month. Do we need to do anything to better position yourself for better mortgage options, whether it's the rate or the terms, and then let's get you set up on a custom home search that fits your criteria, what you're looking for and what you need. That way, everything's in place and we're ready to go, right? You never know when that right property pops on the market. Maybe it comes on the market next week. It's the perfect property, but you weren't ready or you weren't prepared or you weren't, ready to go, and you might miss that opportunity. So whether you're, thinking about buying in 5 weeks or 5 months or 5 years, we really do want to talk to you right now, and we want to get everything ready to go so that when that property hits, that perfect property hits the market, you can act on it. And I think it's so important. Plus the more time that we have, especially with Mike, there's things that sometimes you need to do with your financing, or your credit, or there's things that, you can do to give you better rates and better mortgage options. And so the more time that we have, generally it's better for our clients. And so that's why we recommend getting in contact with us right now. And let's get on that path.
Yeah, what would you guys say, or what do you say to the people who are saying, what, I'm waiting for rates to hit a certain point before I'm going to get out there and get in the buying pool?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, what we've seen with that, 95, 99% of the time, if you're playing the rate game, you're going to miss out on opportunities. You might miss out on the perfect house. You might put yourself in a more competitive position. Guys, remember, if you don't like today's rate and the rates come down, you can always refinance. But if you lose the house, now, that's a lot bigger challenge. Now you got to go find one that's comparable, or maybe you won't because that was the perfect house. So we always advise against trying to, play the rate game where you're, when it gets to 5.9, I'm going to buy. Well, okay, well, what if it doesn't get to 5.9? Or what if it does, and then you got 1,000 other people that were waiting to get to 5.9, and then everybody's flooded into the market, right? So, most of our buyers want to get the best deal on the house that they want, and so we want to position them in a place that gives you the highest likelihood of achieving that goal.
Yeah, I think it's too. If you have a buyer out there who is wondering about rates and rate game, or simply if they're just very subconscious about the finances, their numbers, where they're going to fall, which is awesome. You that should be top of mind. That should be a concern of yours. But if you reach out to somebody and you're working with somebody like Mike, who's very experienced mortgage broker, and you sit down and have the conversation with them, hey, we're thinking about 2025, but we feel like we're in the position now. Start making that plan, and then also ask that question. The cost of waiting. Mike, I know you guys got a great, in a sense, kind of like a sheet that shows buyers, this is what happens if you wait. This is the cost that you're going to have to take on if you do wait. Shows out those scenarios. So then if you're thinking to yourself that you're waiting to get a better rate to better yourself financially, there's more than just the rate. There's a lot of other factors that go into it. And if you're working with somebody like Mike, they're going to be able to provide you with that information, those type of breakdowns. So then you can make an educated decision instead of being like, let's just pull a percent out of the air and say that's going to be the benchmark to get out there and start looking at homes. There's more to it. So don't wait now. Reach out to somebody like Mike, have the conversation with him and his team, and start the plan today. Even if you don't end up buying until 2025, you'll be happy you had the conversation today in 2024.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's the cost of waiting. And a lot of times the cost of waiting, it's your opportunity costs. You know what I mean? Look at the people that could have bought a home back in 2018 and 2019 and didn't, and all the appreciation they missed out during 2020, 21, 2022. I mean, you're talking, if you would have bought a $300,000 house in 2019, the value of that $300,000 house today, like if I take the metro area up here around Minneapolis, a $300,000 house in 2019, you're probably selling it for $450 right now, right? I mean, you're at least a 50% gain on that, and maybe even just a little bit more, and that's just over a 5-year time span. Go back to if you go back the last 10 years, if you go from 2014 to 2024. Homes have appreciated up here about 85% over that 10-year span. So the value has almost doubled, right? So that's the crazy advantage that you can have by owning real estate, is that you get that back end appreciation, and that's just free money, right? You're getting paid to own a house.
It's huge. I just did a CMA last week, Mike, on a house that was purchased in 2017 for $275. Did the market analysis on it. It's worth $475.
Yeah, $200,000
in like 7-8 years. I mean, it's and they didn't do anything to it. They didn't do any improvements. I mean, it's in great shape. So they've kept it. The upkeep is there, but they didn't make any big improvements, and it's like $200,000. It's crazy.
And disclaimer, right? I mean, what we saw in the last from 2020 through the end of 2022, that's not normal. Highly unlikely we'll ever see that again. So these numbers we're saying out there are obviously on the one spectrum of it. But if you looked at the last 5 decades and looked at the average appreciation, you have that chart, Mike, that you've shared with us before. In the last 50, 60 years, there was only like 2 or 3 years, or the last 50, 60 years, where there was a depreciation of value in homes. Right. Only 2, 3 years out of the last 50, 60 years. And so it's like, yeah, you may not pick up another $200,000 in the next 7 years on your home. However, even if you took the complete opposite spectrum and played the numbers super conservative, you're still likely going to eat some cost for waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and the rate game, going back to the rate game, I'm waiting for rates to come down like Jason mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of other people that are waiting for rates to hit a certain level, right? The problem there is that when you have all these buyers jump into the pool, you get in a multiple offer situation now because you waited and other people waited and you all jumped in at the same time. Well, the savings you just got by waiting for interest rates to come down just went away because now you're paying 5 to 10% more for the house. So the savings just got offset by the higher price you got to pay for that house in order to get it, to beat out those other buyers. And you literally you're back at square one. You're at ground zero there.
And then the question is how long is it going to take you to find the house? And where, now maybe it only takes us a month, but you get into that crazy buying market and now it's 3 months or 6 months or holy smokes, it took me a whole year to secure a property because I was in so many multiples and so then what's the cost of that? And so it is, again, at the very least, it puts you in a position to make a decision if you find something you want right now. And again, whether that takes 5 weeks, 5 months, or 5 years, we're good with that. We just want to make sure that you're ready to go when you're ready.
Yep. All right, so now let's switch gears. So now that we're talking about the buyer who did not have a house to sell, so now we have a buyer that's got a house to sell. Okay. And let's assume that this buyer has the ability to buy the next house without the sale of their current house. So they qualify to carry 2 homes. Maybe they own the current house free and clear, right? And so there's just no mortgage on the current house, right? So it's like you got this game to play of, okay, so now I'm a buyer and I'm a seller all at the same time, right? Is there a way to get a win-win being a buyer and a seller at the same time? And is that at the winter market or is that the spring market?
I'll go first on this one, Mike, and I think again another big advantage to the winter market. Yes, historically inventory is going to be a little bit lower. That's a fact that you'll pretty much find in every market throughout the U.S. However, homes do typically sit on the market longer during the winter market. So if you are a buyer out there and a seller has been on the market for 30 days or 15, 30 days, whatever it might be, there's a really good chance that you can submit an offer and say, hey, I'm not looking to close in 30 days. I would like to close maybe in 75 days. And a seller's going to look at that and they're going to be like, well, we've only had a couple showings here in the last, 2 weeks and maybe only, 7, 8 total in the last 30 days. Yeah, we're fine with that. We just want to get under contract. We don't want to think about it anymore. We're okay with that 75-day closing. So then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, you got your house under contract that you want to buy and you can start preparing for your home sale. And even if you don't need it as a contingency, there's still a really good chance if you're working with an exceptional realtor, they're going to put you in a position where there's a good chance you're going to be able to get that one under contract, the one you're trying to sell, and still satisfied and avoid any kind of like loan products like a balloon loan or something like of that nature.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Marcus. And you can also, you have more options, you have more flexibilities as a buyer in the winter months, and sellers are more willing to do a little bit longer closing. And then you can set up the closing on your new house. Maybe you close on the 10th of the month. Well, your first mortgage payment isn't due now for 50 days. So you get a longer closing. Maybe it's 60 or 75 days, and then you schedule it correctly. So then you've got another 50 days before a double payment situation kicks in. So you can buy yourself 3.5, 4 months if you do it right. And and you just got more options. You got more options and more flexibility.
Yeah. And then you also have we can, if the right house comes up now, let's buy the new house now, and you could do a minimum down payment loan. So we see this a lot up here. It's like, okay, we qualify to carry 2 house payments, right? But we actually want to move into the next house first because we don't want to get pinched for time, right? We don't want to get pinched where we have to move out of one house and into another house over one weekend, right? We want to be able to just slowly move into the new house, or the new house we're going to buy. We want to do some carpet and some paint and stuff before we get moved in. So we want to close and buy that new house now, get those types of upgrades and stuff done to the house, move into it, and then worry about selling our old house. Because, well, let's face it, let's say you got 3 kids and 2 dogs, right? How convenient is showing your house and stuff with 3 kids and 2 dogs and your school schedules and stuff going on, right? So a lot of times it's kind of a convenience factor of I want to move into the new house. So then our old house is just cleared out and then showings are wide open, right? Anyone can come in anytime and look at it. It's just easy because we don't have to schedule around that stuff. And so we see that a lot where you do a minimum down payment on the new house, right? So let's say you do a conventional loan, 5% down, you get into the new house. Once your old house sells, then we just recast the loan that's on the new house, right? So you take your proceeds from this house over here that you just sold. Let's say it's your 150 grand is what you got. You take that 150 grand and you put it towards the loan that's on the new house, and we readjust your loan as if you had that down payment money from the get-go, right? So we remove the PMI, right? We drop your mortgage payment down to the new lower loan balance. All that stuff gets reset with that recast. So we see that a lot, up here today with those people that can qualify for 2 houses, and it works out really slick.
Yeah, the other thing that we do for sellers is, we'll do off-market marketing. So, we're not going on the MLS yet, but we've got a pretty huge network, and a lot of times, buyers want properties that are not on the market because they're getting access to something that most don't have access to, and those buyers are willing to, in a lot of cases, they're willing to wait 4 or 5. We had one last year. They waited 7 months to close. And so now as a seller, we don't even have to go on the market. We've got your property sold. We've got it secured with a purchase agreement. We've got the closing out, 5, 6, 7 months. Now you got tons of time to move or to find the property or whatever the case is. And so I think we've got a lot of really good creative options for sellers and sellers that are also buyers. And it's a lot of fun to put those creative deals together.
Yeah, each deal's kind of like a fingerprint, right? They're just a little bit different. Not everyone is exactly alike, and just having experienced people, experienced team around you to come up with ideas and to get creative on how you can structure it to best fit your needs and your schedule. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely value to that.
Yeah.
So
when we kind of talk about, I know we had moved on from the rate conversation, but just you think about, like, we talk about rates on here quite often. I mean, obviously it's a real estate show, so I think you kind of need to. But talk about some wide range of forecasting from very reputable sources. For either they're coming from Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae or NAR, chief economists, whatever they might be. And you look at those forecasting. Those individuals who it is their sole job, their sole focus is to look at data and crunch numbers and to give us a forecast. They're missing it. So it's just like, if you have this idea of what you're going for, if the ultimate goal is to buy a house and you can do it, that's what you should be focusing on. The rate is a side note. Like you said, Jason, if they get better, great, refinance. If they don't get better, you're going to be super happy you locked into the rate that is available today than what might be down the road. And not only that, but like Mike, I think, and Jason, historically, again, it's pretty common to see mortgage rates, kind of tick up a little bit during the spring market. It just seems like the buyers are more willing to tolerate a little bit of a higher rate. Maybe it's 1/8 of a point because of all the activity, kind of that supply demand concept. And so, it just may not be very likely that the best rate is going to come in the month of May anyways. So if it's a rate thing, have the conversation again with somebody like Mike and just let them know what your goals are, what your plans are, and make an educated decision.
Yeah, it's the one thing that the entire time you own the house that you can change is your interest rate, right? As soon as you buy a house and you close on it, can you go back and change the price that you paid for that house? No.
Oh, question, Mike. You said about recasting. Can you do that more than once, or is that kind of like a one and done kind of a deal?
You get one time during the life of the loan to do it. Yep. So you want to save that recast for when you got a big chunk. So most of the time it's you got a buyer who has a house to sell, right? And they actually close on the new house first, right? Then they get their old house listed and sold. Now they get this big chunk of money, right? Mm-hmm. Do the recast then. You go buy a house now and you win the lottery, right? You win the lottery and you want to throw some money down, right? You got enough money to do it there, do a big chunk. Are you going to do the recast if you got a $10,000 bonus at the end of the year from your job and you want to, put $10,000 towards it? It's not worth doing the recast at that point. You're going to want to have a significant chunk of money before you do it.
Yeah. I'm buying a new house if I win the lottery.
Are you? I'm buying
might
like
have
6 houses.
The whole block.
I mean, you might only
I
own
only
10
buy-
grand.
I only buy a lottery ticket when it's over $1 billion. You know,
Isn't that
I don't
funny?
want to. None of that.
When
you
your
know,
odds are worse.
200 million winnings. I want $1 billion. That's
at
the
least
only
$1
way to
billion.
get my money is this if I can win $1 billion. So
What would it cost you to buy all the lottery tickets? So then you know you're going to win. Is that a
it's
strategy?
got to be out there.
Is that a strategy or no?
It's probably
a strategy, but you
what if somebody else wins?
you can't print them fast enough. That's I've looked that up before, and it's like you couldn't like purchase all the numbers and get it purchased by the time it the balls are selected.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
The person spinning the ball wheel.
tumble the balls.
Yeah.
the balls drop, don't they?
I buy a lot. You could tell.
Oh, I love it. Well, that's good. That's good. So it's it's one of these things we see it every single year, right? And we get the question every single year: Do I buy now? Do I buy in the winter? Or do I wait for the spring? And there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Typically, I think the biggest thing that people forget about is when the right house comes up and the opportunity is there, you want to be prepared to jump on it. That right house might come up this weekend. It might be in the dead of winter, right? It might come up in July. You know what I mean? You just don't know when that right house is going to come up. So just being prepared and being able to pull the trigger now when that right house comes up is the biggest thing now. You can always change your rate down the road by refinancing. So if it's not optimal as far as rates go or something like that, take advantage of that down the road when rates do come down, and they will come down. Everyone's like, not everyone, but some people are like, oh, they're not coming down. It's going to be whatever. Every 10 years, right? Every 10 years we go through a refi boom. I've been doing this for a little over 20 years now, right? And I see the cycle of interest rates, right? They go up, they go down. I know there's a little bit of a refi boom coming up here, probably within the next 12 to 24 months that we're actually preparing for now. So I know what's going to happen. And so there's some security and safety there too, knowing that you could take advantage of a lower rate down the road. Mm-hmm. So we appreciate everyone listening today. This has been U.S. Home Talk, not Minnesota Home Talk. U.S. Home Talk now. I pulled the Jason
Money in
here.
the jar. Money in the jar.
Yep, money in the jar. Finally, someone else messed it up too. We appreciate everyone listening. Everyone listening this week. We'll be back next Wednesday at noon live with another great show for you guys. On behalf of Jason Walgrave and Marcus Walgrave, I am Mike Overson. Thanks for listening.